Hi, Naomi Suzanne from Naomi's Home Health. So, my good friend, Aveni, sorry, I'm just fixing the camera, Aveni, Cherie, and I are going to be discussing how to balance your masculine and feminine energies. So, when we are out of balance, it is going to prolong our healing journey. Who have I got on here? Is she coming on? Technology. So yeah, masculine and feminine energies are not something that we dive into a lot when we go on our healing journey. Here we go, she's coming in. Add.
Oh my God.
We had technical difficulties. That's part of social media. So I was just explaining we're doing, masculine and balancing masculine and feminine energies for the healing journey. And I was just about to explain how I met you, which was through a women's circle. I got invited to a women's circle and I wasn't really thinking of joining the circle. I thought, I wasn't a very feminine woman. I was very much in my masculine, and joining a women's circle was petrifying to me. So I joined in with these ladies. I thought, you know what, I've obviously called this in. I need to get in there. I didn't understand what most of the women were talking about half the time because of the feminine language and energy that was going on in the circle. And I just thought, I'm just going to dive in and have a go and see how we go. And it's been a big part of my healing journey to have a very close-knit group of supportive women that can help me dive more into my feminine energy. So I wanted you to come on and explain to people, because you are one of the most balanced feminine energies that I know, and this is where I get most of my insights from with that balance. So tell everybody what it is that you do for a job and how you dive into your feminine and masculine balance.
Awesome. I love, absolutely. Definitely Women's Circle has been one of those key components of bringing me back into honoring the divine feminine within. I think for me, as a medical intuitive and quantum healer, I'm just a lover of all cosmic things. I've always felt a deep connection to balance of some sort. If you be a fly on the wall in my house, you'll always hear I'm always talking about balance, right? And obviously we all need to take care of ourselves. But one of the real tangible things that I do for myself in honoring the divine within and the masculine is sacred ceremony and connection. It's like coming into what I call creating and creating rituals could be making a cup of tea at the time you connect with, could be meditating. Also is I give back to bring that balance in every morning and every night. I'm making sure that I'm connecting and aligning and balancing. And this key elements into seeing with your physical body, you are out of alignment. Your body communicates to you when you are out of alignment, when you're more in your feminine or when you're more in your masculine, or where it needs to come in. There's really simple tools to find out.
You're cutting out a little bit on and off.
Oh, no, my connection.
Just your voice. You might lose a word or two here and there.
Oh,
it's all right now. It's working now, but yeah. Hey, Pram.
Maybe
Pram's also in our women's circle, so thanks for tuning in. Pram knows the about balance. So yeah, so those are things that you have gifted to me, the rituals and things like that. I didn't do any of those things. I focused so much on the physical healing at first, and it wasn't until I joined the women's circle where the rest of the healing come in. So with that balance, because women are more open to receive. If in that feminine energy, women are more open to receiving if you have more feminine, whereas, you know, and they're more willing to heal and do the things they need to heal on a holistic level. In your masculine, you're just doing the physical, and that's where I was sitting at. And it wasn't, and the reason that I started to develop into the mental, the emotional, body, mind, soul was because I entered into the women's circle and getting that balance with the masculine and feminine. And that was what you guys have taught me about. And you with your rituals and some of the things I'd be like, I don't even know what she's talking about. But I do now.
It's a remembrance back to the self, right? We know this as, let's just say it as women. We know this divine connection. We know this the divine connection of honoring our bodies. We get that real innate feeling after, especially if we've had kids. I don't know if there's some feedback. Maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah. Hi, girls.
So, yeah, especially after we have had kids, quite often we lose a sense of ourselves as women, 30, leading into our 40s, our 50s, and even our 60s. You know, we really lose ourselves. And rediscovering ourselves is something that naturally starts to birth within, starts to blossom again. And we probably could back in your time being a mom, era, or a wife, and how then those 30 to 40s to 50s to 60 years, and sometimes even 70, like a beautiful girlfriend, Steph, spoke about her mum, you know, who's just blessedly coming into, in her 80s, honouring time, some sacred time to herself. That, you know, needed to change, but that is gold and magical, because what has happened through that time, as we all do as wives and partners and carers, whatever, we pour ourselves out, we forget to fill up our cup, and that's where we, and we, masculine is our body. So any ailments in your right side of the body is that, call that the masculine need. So quite often, you know, bringing the opposite hand across and just set love. And the left side is your feminine. And, you know, it's, if you've got an issue happening on the left side of your feminine body, then bringing your right hand of support to support, like, got you, sister, you know. Our heart's on the left-hand side, you know, it's really powerful. So I think this is a real powerful time for women, especially, to activate their self-love and their awareness to coming back to honoring divine essence, honoring their love of themselves, because living too much that do depletes our life force energy, lose ourselves in it. So, you know, that divine and use both your hands like this. Sometimes I do this to balance those energies out, or bring a hand to, apart from sacred honoring, it is bringing the balance in, or changing your hands over like that and giving yourself a hug, you know, placing your hand on your heart. A call came through, of course.
Always.
It's swapping and changing, right? Either your right hand on your heart, left supporting it. And so if you're thinking your masculine supporting your divine heart now, that's just really, you can feel a centering within the body. And then if it's your left hand to the heart first, you can feel it's a loving, soft, nurturing, feminine, you know, like the flowing waters of nature that's allowing the energy to move through your body. And so you can do this change up of breath work, breathing in and out, or just placing one hand on top of the other, and you just got to listen to what your body is asking you to do.
Yeah.
Is some of the practices that I do, and I use, you know, crystals and essential oils to do that as well.
Maybe too, when I first joined the circle and you were all doing this, and I was like, I can't do that. My body physically repelled doing that. I never did it. And it was probably because I wasn't bringing the balance. I don't know, energetically, maybe it was that. But now I have no worries doing that. And I think as time went on, I just felt it became a natural thing and I felt comfortable. But at first, I'm like, I just go, oh yeah, like, and I never did that. And even when we would do like a grounding in or a grounding out, everyone would have their hand on their heart, and I would just sit back and take it in. And it wasn't until you explained that connection to me where I started doing it, and it made a big difference. It really did. And now I always have the left hand over the right, whereas before I didn't realize that under the right, yeah, and it was the other way around. And so you've just taught me again something else. I didn't realize why I didn't do those things, why I was uncomfortable, and now it was the lack of balance. And I'm so much more balanced. I'm still a masculine energy type of woman in comparison to a lot of people I know, but definitely the scales are coming up with that feminine energy.
Definitely. And one thing I find interesting is when I've worked with clients, connecting with clients, or even, you know, when we're in the space with women for the first time, and you can see this with everyone. You ask somebody to put their hand, there is such great resistance. You can see within their whole psychology, physicality, energy bodies, that this resistance to give back to the self, whether it's a left or right, this resistance to really give back and nurture. And there was this one time I had a client, and I said, bring your hand to your heart, and she literally wouldn't. Her hands, God bless her, off her. And almost like I put it on here, come back. Now it's a practice that she brings forward. But what happens there is our heart is our soul. Our heart is where our soul's subtle voice communicates and comes through our body. Our brain, it's actually it's the computer system to send pulse waves of information stuff. The heart is the receiver and the giver and the receiver. Our heart is the point. Hello, two hands, two hearts, you know. It's like our. So it's really important to do these types of practices and connect like crystals in either side of the hand and create a there. Essential oils. Conscious intention is powerful with that as well. And when we really bring that of connecting with our hearts, we ask the mind body to come fully into alignment. We ask the central nervous system to calm down. We say to the ego, take a back seat. Welcome in the seat. And that is what is needed currently, you know, on our planet. This is what we need really for the evolution of all of consciousness, is to lead with our heart and to lead well. What, you know, I feel is really being called forward, and obviously that's what came forward to you to bring this conversation up.
Yeah, well, and I think too, I don't even know why I decided to talk about masculine and feminine. I think, you know, I just realized, yeah, that was a really important part of my healing. And you know what I'm like with the medical system, how I just feel like it failed me. So I always look at, you know, most of the world puts their health in the hands of a stranger, basically, who has been to university and just sort of done a one-track way of educating themselves or being educated on on their health, or might be an endocrinologist or whatever, and there's no external learning or actually grabbing one of the patients. Like I've gone into my doctors and like, I'm off all my medication from a really high amount, and instead of saying, you know, tell me what it is that you're doing so I can pass it on to the rest of them, it's sort of like their nose gets turned up, or they're, you know, so there's no open to healing in the medical system. It's, well, we're just going to have to make sure you don't get back on your medication then, or you just have to keep coming back for blood tests in case you need to get more of that medication. And it's like, I'm not coming back here for that. So basically, there, for me, the heart has gone away from healing, and women were the healers of the family, the tribe, the village, whatever it was. And you would go to the women and they'd sit and they'd talk, and they, you know, it was a big connection point was health and wellness. And we've gone away from that. It's all just given to the medical system, basically, and putting our trust and faith in that, when we know our body's better than anything. And you know, when you have kids that are sick and you've taken them to the doctor and the doctor's like, they'll be right, and you're thinking, no, I know my child. And that was how I felt with myself. No, I know me, and I'm not just depressed like you're telling me. I actually am sick. So it's got, I feel like we need to come back to that intuition and listening to our gut and stepping into that feminine side, where women become more of the healers. Obviously, you know, we need the medical system, but we've got to stop leaning on it so much for every little thing. We don't need to go to the pharmacy for a cold and flu tablet. We can grab that from nature. You know, simple things we are going to and overburdening our health system for, which we don't need to. And we now got this division in society of who wants one way of health and who wants the other. And instead of coming in the middle and finding that balance of integrating medicine and natural health and learning to look after yourself first and foremost, should be looking after yourself, not going, somebody, you know, give me a pill, give me a needle, whatever it is, and look after me. No, take responsibility for yourself, become that healer for yourself, and then use that, the rest of it, for support down the track. But first and foremost comes back to you, and that's where I want that feminine to rise a little bit more in society.
Absolutely. Well, we're in the age of Aquarius, in the age of awakening of the divine feminine. You know, I think this is, if we're looking at the planet, what's happening with the awakening of the divine feminine, there's so many beautiful groups of women gathering have at Revolution, and it is something that is really important for the movement forward to teach the next generation, because mothers aren't just mothers, we teach our homes as well. You know, we're the medicine woman, you know, we're you know, the guy, the man. We're born innately switched on. We're born innately attuned to the frequency and vibration of everything around us. Kids look around in the aura rather than at your eyes. Pay attention, then they pay attention. Animals are the same. You know, they are innately switched on to the environment. And God's pharmacy creates everything so beautifully. Yes, we need, you know, for the function of human body disease and all that. Yes, medical industry is needed at some level, but a great medical science, medical healthcare system, an integrative system where we come back to remembering the health and the intuitive connection to ourselves, like, because that's how we began. That's how we began to start out, and we've lost our way with being connected to frequency, connected to our intuitive responses to let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I had a little bit of an uncomfortability in my body. I was feeling just really out of sorts, and you know, I'm going through menopause beautifully, and I was feeling like I was very inflamed, right? And I got inflammation. I feel like I've got inflammation. And our gut, food, it digests information, right? It digests stuff that we see and energies that we feel and energies that we hear. And so it digests everything. So, and I was sitting in my, massive beating and was bringing some balance in and going, body, what is this? Just talk to me. What am I feeling right now? And I heard you have, now here's going to be a play on words, so catch it. You have inflammation. And I was like, what? So it's inflammation with inflammation. And I was like, oh, okay. So what you're saying is, this is my guides talking, right? And my body talking to me, is the information I was receiving and the overload of worldly was creating inflammation in my body because I wasn't able to digest it enough. And so that's where balance, because look at what we're experiencing now, and back to the wholeness of self, the wholeness of
Yeah, sorry. I have a child. Go and get your bike. Can I go on my scooter? Yeah. So sorry.
I love that. So yeah, so back to being the alchemist, the healer, the medicine woman, the one that connects into intuitive and teaching our kids this.
Yeah, and that's my big thing too, is I don't want to teach my kids to grab a paracetamol when they have a headache. I don't want them to think that they need a pill for everything. I want them to know that, remaining healthy is very different to what we are perceived as healthy at the moment. And I read something where someone asked their child how they can protect themselves from a virus, and the child said, wear a mask, stay away from people, hand sanitize, and it made me so upset that is what children think health is. There was no mention of fruits, vegetables, no toxins, and it just goes to show what we're teaching our kids in society is that none of those practices are healthy. Hand sanitizer is completely toxic. It's lowering our immune system. Children are going to have no immune system. We're too clean. We're cleaning everything for whatever reason. Like, I don't think it gets rid of a virus to clean a bench top with potent chemicals. I feel like the best defense is our own, what we do for ourselves every single day. And this is where the divide is coming in. People are saying, well, you've got to do it this way. But if we all did it ourselves to start with, look after yourself first. It's the same as, when you're on a plane and they tell you, if you've got a child, your oxygen mask drops down and you put it on yourself first and then you put it on the kid. You can't help anyone else if you are not helping yourself. So what is the point of everybody walking around unhealthy and then getting healthy people to look after them? So,
yes.
It is about everybody taking responsibility and ownership for their own health and stop worrying about what other people are doing. And, this science that we're always talking about starts in a petri dish, and that anything can happen in that dish. Like, there's no science on, we took 300,000 people and we did a special diet for their thyroid and we did a special this and that. There's no protocols for people. It all starts in a petri dish, in a blood sample, and anything can happen. It's the same as if I made a cake and you made a cake with the exact same recipe. We probably won't get the same cake a lot of the time. It can come out very, very different. And that is how science is, and people don't understand that. And not saying science is wrong at all. I'm just saying we can get any result we want to some of the time. So sometimes we need to really think, all right, well, I'll just look after myself and then the rest of it can come. But always looking after ourselves first and understanding that.
And balance is the key to that. I was just saying to my girls just recently, I said, babes, we need to about balance, like too much device time, not enough time, you know, and balance. When we speak about balance in the divine feminine, that means also balance out in nature and then going outside looking at stars, right? At night time, when the moon's glowing, that's divine feminine energy. When you're in nature during the day, you've got divine feminine of Mother Earth, but you've also got the divine masculine with the sun. So there's a yin yang energy exchange of life force energy that moves through like our skin, and it comes into our cells and it lights up our heart. You know, we say we feel more joyful in summertime. It's not because it's actually because energy is shifting your frequency, and it's activating that already inside your whole biology that we don't consciously know. We do consciously, right? A really amazing to remember is where do I need to bring wholeness back? Where do I always have, where do I need to bring wholeness back in my life? Your body always knows. Your body will tell you. But if you do it without your hand, mind possibly quite often can take over. So the hand on the heart, eating, okay, here's the direction. This is what wholeness looks like. You know, could be get outside more, fruit to veggies, and this taps us back into our intuitive center, our intuitive connection to know our body. Our biology is so smart and sophisticated that its frequency is very quantum. It's quantum frequency that resonates through our, and we have an intelligence inside of us that we cannot comprehend with our physical mind. So tapping in wonders of that connection and inviting the sacred integrity, that balance in of the divine feminine by what might being outside, eating nourishing food, doing meditation, bringing hands on heart, doing yoga, using crystals, using your oils, you know, conscious connection to being divinely connected to who you are, listening within, all those keys, balance of your divine feminine and masculine Lord. And what you'll notice is that start to communicate with you again. Yeah. Once you you know, come into that center, you're leaving the distortion of it that we currently have this mass amount of distortion of around our planet. This distortion, I connected with it this morning in meditation, and I was like, what the hell is this? And there was this massive distortion energy in my field. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a distortion energy in everybody's field that is keeping us in this, let's say, hypnosis, matrix, in a sense of not seeing, not connecting, and putting us outside. So when we come back to the wholeness, ask, where's the wholeness for me? Whole and true to me, balance, masculine, feminine. And it starts to communicate to you.
Yeah.
And health, vitality, reassurance, sovereignty, truth, trust, and your alignment and balance is assured. And then your soul communicates to you.
Yeah. I totally love all of that, and I would never have thought I would say that like 5 or 6 years ago, but it definitely makes a difference. And even if you're uncomfortable with it, it's something that you should try and step into just one little bit at a time. But you can go and ask Aveni, befriend her on Facebook, or she's got, is it Body Soul Alchemy? You have a group. She has a group. You can, you know, she does healings and things like that. So, you know, dive into asking her how you can bring that balance into your life, because it is really important. And without it, I don't know where I'd be. Every single little factor in my healing, there is so much. And I want everybody here to know that it's not just about taking your medication or going gluten-free. it's a whole connection on so many levels. And I'm always learning, like constantly learning, doing things. This is not like I'm better now, off we go now. Like it's a constant way of researching, educating, learning, developing, balancing, all of that for me. So yeah, well, thank you so much. I loved that conversation that we just had. Always learn more.
Thank you. Same. I love it.
All right. Well,
let's jump on live. Thanks, Pram.
Thanks, Pram, sister. All right. Well, I'll share this in the group. So everyone, if you have listened to us, give us a little wave in the comments and contact one of us if you need to know a little bit more about that balance.